Hey folks, how are you? This is Granderson Shines and
Andrew Hoagland.
And we are Direct Business Marketing coming at you today with another live presentation about marketing. Again, it's all about marketing, right?
All about marketing.
Whether you're online marketing, whether you're marketing from a studio like we are right now, whether you're marketing via direct mail, whatever it is all about marketing.
Yep.
So today we're going to talk about the 8 components of effective marketing. Now, we adhere, again, to the marketing principles, right?
Yep, marketing principles. It's the marketing principles that if you apply those to print, to online, to social media, to any place that you're doing marketing, to video,
yep,
you're going to have good responses.
Yep. So we want to talk about those components that are in every aspect of marketing today. So hopefully everyone can hear us, you can see us, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
Let's launch.
So the first one here, we're very heavily inundated with all sorts of marketing activity, and one of the things that we usually look at immediately is something like words, right?
Words.
Yep. So words, if you haven't noticed, words are in everything.
Are anything, whether you're speaking them or they're in print. Words are everywhere.
Words are everywhere. So words, as I always say, even from a biblical standpoint, it's the most powerful things in the world. They start wars, they end wars, right? Just to kind of give an example. But words are on everything. So especially on your website. So if you have a website, and the chances are you're either speaking words or there's written material on it, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So there you have it.
Using words everywhere.
Using words everywhere. So it behooves us to understand some of what we call emotional triggers.
Emotional triggers or cash words or words that call people to action.
Yep. And that's it. That's the main thing right there. The words that call people to action. If they can touch on an emotional level to some degree, whether it's fulfilling a need or a want or whatever it may be for that particular person.
Because people buy out of emotion.
They do.
And if they're not in emotion, they probably won't buy.
Yep. That's very, very true. So hence, if you ever study copywriting, which is what we're talking about here, cash king copy. When I say cash king, meaning getting them to do something which will result in some sort of transaction of monetary exchange.
Can you give us an example? What would be a good example of a cash king copy?
Well, for instance, like a squeeze page, right? Squeeze pages usually there's certain components on the squeeze page, right? One being the capture source. If you haven't watched the components of online marketing, watch that one. But making sure that the words on the page are there. I'm sure you've seen those long sales letters when you're just scrolling down for days, right?
Yeah.
Well, those are copy intensive and they have the right components. So cash king copy.
So if we look at a title or a headline, what are some phrases or words that they can focus on? Like I've seen in a lot of the stuff that you write that we make it first person, like your, that sort of thing. Is that important?
That is important. Making sure it's written in first person, like you're talking directly to them. That's really important because they want to feel that their needs or their wants are being addressed. So writing in first person is very, very critical.
Okay.
Understanding who you're talking to, addressing them by their quote title, if they're a doctor or a realtor or business owner, something like that. Okay. That's also important when you're writing copy because people want to feel important. So you do make them feel important by some of the things that they listen to via your words that you're speaking or whether it's in written text.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead of saying, from a real estate perspective, instead of saying something like, this is a great starter home, we could put your in. This is your starter home.
This is your starter home, right? Because we also want to give them that vision of them utilizing the product or the service, right?
Yeah.
So when you put them in context of and putting them in position with that product or service, then it makes much more powerful.
They're superimposing themselves,
exactly,
seeing themselves already using or living in the property.
Yep, that's one of the most important things that we teach. You see it more in blog copy, but it should also be on marketing copy that's not blog written copy.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Cool. So next slide. Actually, this is a little visual aspect too. So we're going to have a little visual along with a conversation piece of it. Okay. So copywriting services that we provide, they're on brochures, sales letters, everything else that we just spoke about. Okay. So now we're going to talk about strategy, right? It's all about strategy. So when we talk about strategy, we look in terms of, okay, what do we do first, second, third, fourth? So hence the little the little stair steps you see or the escalator, and it should be a progression upwards, right? So when we're talking about strategy, let's talk about online strategy for a moment, since you're the online king.
Yeah, I love online strategy.
When we talk about online strategy, what's one of the first things that we should really, or our audience should be aware about when we're talking about online strategy?
I would say the first thing you should be aware of when you're talking about online strategy is to attack multiple fronts so that you're building kind of a funnel system to funnel people in. I would say that's the most important.
So when you say multiple fronts, information that's going out to the person?
Yeah, you don't want to just focus on, just pay-per-click or, just Realtor.com or any one place. You want to have a strategy that incorporates all the different things and have a coordinated effort. So that you don't have, a disjointed approach. You want to have everything coordinated together.
Okay, cool. Which leads me to a question that a client asked me this week. They asked, well, what's the difference between a marketing campaign and marketing activities? And I think you just explained it. You can have all these disparate things going on at one time, but not be focused into a strategy or a campaign to push that one particular product. That's right?
A good point. We use that word a lot, campaign. And to us, we know what that word means. But maybe we should define it. In our minds, a campaign is when you have a coordinated effort on multiple marketing fronts, all pushing the same message, if you will. So, if we're looking and specifically about real estate and say we're positioning ourselves as a short sale expert, let's say in the real estate industry, and our specific campaign or our specific marketing push or the message that we want to get out is that we're the expert. We're the short sale expert. Well, you would want your pay-per-click, your online marketing, your print campaign, everything on Facebook, your banner on the side of your Facebook fan page, all your videos to be all focused on one, driving everybody to one lead capture page, to one tip of the spear, if you will, to one point. And that's the key with a campaign, is not having pay-per-click talking about one thing and your print talking about another thing and your Facebook talking about something else. You want to have everything coordinated together and have one effort.
And that's an example, the latter part you just said, that's an example of having all these marketing activities going on but not focused on campaign. Yeah,
and that goes back to something that we put on a lot of our slides, is just because you have a website doesn't mean you're marketing. And that's true. If your website is not, if your online website is not coordinated with your marketing strategy, then you're just not doing anything. Really.
And they'll find that they'll get better results by doing that too.
Yeah, doing that. Right? Yep. So have, like this slide talks about, have a strategy and step them through the strategy. Maybe step one is, if we go back to short sales, you're actually trying to get a listing. You're a real estate agent and you're looking to get a listing. Well, a lot of times it's easier to sell something small instead of sell the listing. And a lot of companies do that. They jump all the way to the big sale. Like looking at our business, if we're meeting with someone for the first time, we're not looking to sell them, our $50,000, marketing campaign.
Right, exactly.
We're looking to find out what they need and maybe get them to agree to something small. So, maybe you get them to agree to have you walk through a checklist. That's no commitment on their end.
Right.
Maybe you get them to agree to allow you to do a comp on the home or something.
Right.
You get them to agree one step. And once they've taken the first step, it's a lot easier to take the second step the third step, because they've met you, they've got to know you, and they know, hey, this person knows what they're talking about.
Right, and that's a very, very good point, because understanding from a strategy standpoint that the sale that you're trying to make may be a multiple step sale, or will do better at closing with the multiple step sale.
Yeah. So instead of on your website say, click this button and I'll list your home, people probably aren't ready for that.
No, exactly.
Maybe they're ready for, click this button, I can walk you through a checklist or, something like that.
Give them some info first, like we always say. Give them something for free, build their list at the same time, those sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, strategy.
So, think about the stairs and have a strategy, coordinated effort.
Right. And it takes some thought effort, though.
It does.
It takes some thought effort.
Does.
And not a lot.
It's easier just to throw stuff around.
It is. Very much so.
What do we say? You're throwing it all on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. So strategy is something that we very, very now let's talk about now. Let's hone the strategy down a little bit more into a process. And like Andrew had just said, these 5 or however many you pick initial efforts that you're doing, say it's blog, let's say right here, we have email, we have videos, we have events, we have blog posts, and then we have joint venturing. Those, again, focusing into, like you said, the tip of the spear, which will allow us to take this process and go step by step and be able to measure things, be able to put,
have an ROI to it.
Have an ROI to it, exactly. So
this slide talks about having that coordinated effort. And you mentioned like this number 5, and we find that, I don't know why, because we have 5 fingers maybe, that 5 is the easiest, easiest one. Yeah. So when you're doing a marketing campaign, just instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do pay-per-click, I'm going to do blogging, I'm going to do video, I'm going to do print, I'm going to do telemarketing, I'm going to do direct mail, I'm going to do all these things. Sometimes that's a big, big chunk of meat that you're trying to bite off.
Yeah.
So we find that if for a specific campaign, it's easiest just to pick 5 areas like you've outlined. And I think probably because we have 5 fingers, it works well.
It works well.
Yeah.
It just works well.
Yeah.
So the process, so just understanding the process will really help you to take the strategy in your head and kind of break it down into chunks, so where okay, we're doing this, and everything is coordinated effort from that point.
Yeah. So if we look at this process slide, that the purpose of each step is just to get them to the next step.
Yes.
Like what we talked about earlier.
Yes.
The purpose of the email is not to get them to list. The purpose of the email is to get them to the next step. So, maybe, if you're using an event, maybe the purpose of the print and the email and your marketing and your video is just to get them to the event.
Yes.
Then once they're at the event, just to get them to commit, to go through your checklist. And maybe after your checklist, then the next step is the listing or a listing presentation. Instead of saying write directly and your first touch in the video or the email, right to the listing campaign.
And that's very, very true.
Right to list your home.
Right to list the home, exactly. Yeah. Because it's, again, people want to feel that, it also gives you an opportunity to demonstrate your expertise, right?
Yeah.
You're taking them through these steps, you're talking to them a lot, showing them different information, so you're giving them this top-of-mind awareness that, hey, I am the expert when it comes to short sales, I am the expert when it comes to foreclosures, REOs, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it makes them, because that's one of the best testimonials you can get from a customer is that word comfortable.
Yep.
Because they made me feel comfortable with the process. They made me feel, like this wasn't foreign and I could handle it and accept it.
Yep. So the process, that portion again is very, very important. So actually, let's go down.
And actually go back one on the process. We want to make sure once you have them that you have a mechanism to follow up. Like a lot of our business is focused on lead generation. And once you get that person into the lead, you have to make sure you have this is a total sidebar, but make sure you have a process of follow-up, whether that's in Top Producer or ComF5 or whatever the mechanism you have to follow up with them. Make sure you have a system of follow-up, as opposed to, trying to remember it all. And
that's a good point, because we meet up with so many clients that don't have it in place.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do you nurture the lead you got, right?
Yeah.
So we want to, of course, generate the lead as we're talking about. We want to capture the lead, store it, and nurture it also to make sure that this whole process thing works together. And at the end of the day, they have to make a sale for the product or service, right?
Yeah. So in your process, make sure you've thought out what happens if they say no.
Yes.
Let's say you have an email campaign, or you have your 5 things that you're going after, and it's directing them to a website or to an event where they're going to come to an event. And at the event, you want them, to take the next step. Let's say to sign up for a listing appointment. Well, what if they don't?
Right.
You have to have a no branch, if you will, or a branch in your process says no, they didn't take the next step. But still, what am I going to do for them? Am I going to, put them on a 33-touch email? Am I going to, follow up with them via phone? What is the best process with them if they said no?
Right.
You don't want to just. Obviously you want something for yes, but you also need something for no.
And that could be different for an event, it could be different for, webinar, could be different for, whatever else, just an email, right?
Yeah.
If they say no to the email, they don't click the link, right?
Yeah, then what happens? Are you going to email them again, or are you not going to email them again? What's your process? And we find that if you map it out kind of like this and have a plan in place, that it goes much better.
Right. And this one's a very simplified version of a process, but there are some that get much more intense with, like Andrew said, the no's, what happened when you get a no, and all those other kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Next, so making sure that the marketing has the ability to market some proven process, proven product or service, right? A lot of times, I was talking to a client about this yesterday, a potential client. One of the things that I mentioned in my talk with them, I said we test a lot, right? And there are times when we have clients that come to us and they've launched this campaign that cost them $30,000 or so, but they didn't test it. And they're like, oh, I wasted $30,000. Well, let's prove it first, right?
Let's prove
it if people want it.
Is this postcard working? Is this sales letter working? Is this video working? Before you put the your full marketing budget backing behind it.
Right. And that's something we were talking about this morning. We're about to do
for our own business.
Put out another advertisement deal, but we want to test it first before we do that. We know we have the product, right? We prove the product with a bunch of clients that we have, proven the service and things like that we give to our clients, and now it's just time to test it. So we have that proven process, that proven product or a sizzling service that we initiate out into the market, but we want to make sure that we test it with, again, that word is very, very powerful, test. Just make sure we test the information that we're putting out there.
Yeah, so for, let's say you start to farm a certain area, maybe you don't go after the whole area, you go after a certain neighborhood, a subdivision, that sort of thing, so that you can go after that smaller zone, if you will, and work out the kinks, so that when you put your whole marketing budget behind it, you've worked that out.
Which kind of made me think about next video. We'll probably next webinar presentation. We'll probably talk about. We'll touch on the 3 types of businesses and how that relates to these marketing activities, or these 8 components, because it's different for if you're going to be a Walmart versus an HP or something like that, right?
Yeah.
One that's a product innovator, one that's a low-cost leader.
Yeah. Different
type of marketing campaign that you're going to put out there.
Yeah.
Different. everything looks different, right?
Yeah.
The whole campaign.
Definitely.
So.
Definitely.
We'll touch on that a little bit later on. So as you see here, we just have a product that we have for one of our clients, and then something else that we did a while back, but just kind of giving the dynamics of the proven product and proven service or sizzling service that you have an opportunity to provide also, not just for not just us as your consultants, but also for their business. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Number 5. So you need this hungry market. You need a market in order to market too. So let me ask you this. From a pay-per-click standpoint, and people ask us about this, you can focus on a local market.
Yeah. From a pay-per-click, if you start doing, and we use this phrase all the time, pay-per-click. Actually, I was giving a presentation on Saturday, and someone in the crowd raised their hand and said, what is pay-per-click? So maybe that's... I don't think we've ever covered this on a webinar, but I say it so quick. Some people said, "Are you saying pay-per-click?"
Pay-per-click.
Pay-per-click or pay-per-clip? It's pay per click. So what you're doing is taking ad space out, whether it be on Facebook. The 2 most popular are Facebook and Google. Taking out ads, and you only pay if someone clicks on them.
Clicks on the ad.
And so around the hungry market, and this goes to what we said before, is test in different areas, is that you can focus your advertising in those regions. So you can say, okay, I'm just going after a certain city. Actually, you can do a radius of an area. So I can really say just a neighborhood and focus on those areas so that you can test and find out. But the hungry market is important. If we use short sales as an example, in your area, let's say you're going to go after short sales, where are the short sales? Find out where they are from a physical geolocation, find out, if they're hungry. Another thing as far as a hungry market, so, the map on the slide here indicates, geographical locations.
Correct.
But what about demographic? Aren't those a market establishment that you can go after? Whether it be marital status, age, ethnicity, male, female, sex, that sort of thing. Look at your own. You have data. You have clients. Look at your own data and say, Are the majority of them, single, married, that sort of thing? Are they male, female? What are the age range, obviously, as well as geographic location. So really focus in on the market.
Good point. So in terms of a market, when we talk about a hungry market, is it true that the more niche the market, the more hungry the market?
Yes, I would say, and maybe not more, I would say more hungry, but more apt to buy. If that's what we use as the phrase. More apt, they're primed to buy.
Right.
Because if they're in that real niche zone, I've been talking about short sales. If you're on a street where you know that 3 people have done short sales on the same street, it's a pretty safe bet that everybody else on the same street is in the same zone. So they're in a very niched area, and their chance to buy is really high.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. The market has a lot to do with the response.
Yeah,
right?
The response.
So
that's a good point.
So if you have a market and it's a hungry market, have the product that matches what the market wants, which is important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a product, you can market to short sale people, but you're marketing, I don't know, baby pacifier, it's probably not gonna get a sale.
Not gonna sell. Yeah.
But okay, so it just has to be that correlation between the market and the product. And then
and this all kind of files under, research.
Right.
Know your market, know what you're going after. Knowledge is power. And once you know all these things, the dollars spent on marketing aren't going to be wasted.
Right. Understanding how that desire feeds into, the want for that product, and boom, there you have. Okay, cool. Excellent. Point number 6. So the mesmerizing message. We spoke about the message earlier, which from a campaign standpoint, we want everything in one bubble.
Yep.
Marketing to the hungry market, but then also having that message be consistent, be concise to that market.
Yeah,
right?
Being consistent throughout all your marketing campaigns, driving them to that one point, and having that call to action message that they can identify with is important.
That's like one of the most important, kind of basic, but most important aspects of a marketing campaign is to have a call to action.
Yeah.
But we see so many marketing campaigns, whether
many online or print or don't have. And I would say, there's some things that people think they have a call to action, but they don't. Like, call me for a consultation.
Is that a good one?
No, that's not. I mean, that's an assumed one.
Yes.
I would say make sure your call to action aren't assumed call to action. Call me for a free quote. Call me for a free consultation. That's assumed.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to give you that. You don't have to. I would never even print that on a printed thing. That's kind of a waste of ink, if you will. Make sure your call to action is strong and has them do a specific thing. Go to a specific website, fill out a specific form, do a specific thing. Because if you use these, what we find is if you use these general call to actions or assumed call to actions, that people put that on the do it later list. They're like, I'll get to that later, or okay, when I have time,
right.
Type thing. You're only going to get the people who are actually going to do it are only going to be the crazy high motivated people that are pushing the panic button.
Okay.
And those might necessarily be all the clients you want. I mean, if you want a slew of panic button people, then maybe that's best. But if you want people that have the panic button out and flip the little plastic case open, but haven't turned the key, they're not really ready to hit the panic button, so that you have some more time to help them, then you want a more specific call to action. And this is the message. So you want to formulate your message and have it solid. Use those cash words that we talked about, in first person, and tell them to do it. Go to this page and fill out this form.
Be specific.
Be specific, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's huge.
So the message, let it all come together, let it work for you, and have that call to action. I mean, that is part of the message. That's a very integrated part of the entire message. And that call to action, speaking about message again, should be on all the different marketing activities you're doing.
All the different.
Same offer on all the different ones?
Same campaign. You're running one campaign, you're promoting one thing, I would have it all over the place.
There we go. There we have it. Point number 7. So, marketing with mainstream mediums. So when we talk about mainstream mediums, we look at this little deal here. There are thousands of different mediums that they can use for marketing. Some of the mainstream ones right now would be
online, obviously, the pay-per-click. Webinars, these are more up to date, like what we're doing right now. Webinars, are important.
Well, let me stop you. If you were focused on short sales and you had an audience out there, maybe you had a list that, some leads that came through, would you do a webinar?
I would do webinars. Okay. Sometimes, speaking of short sales specifically, sometimes, foreclosures and short sales distressed property, people are a little sensitive.
Yes.
It's a sensitive issue. Yeah. And this, webinar mechanism allows them to stay anonymous and watch and interact with you and ask questions.
Good point.
Whether it's live, like this is live, or it's even recorded, you can do a recorded webinar. That's important. So be conscious of that, especially on your print.
Right.
We've talked to some people who've done print campaigns for distressed property, and you send a print campaign saying, hey, I got your name off the 60-day late list, and, the husband didn't know or the wife didn't know that they were late, and, you're causing stress in the area. Or you're sending it and it's a renter in there, and then they're all concerned. So you have to be sensitive to those issues.
So we can do this kind of in a nonchalant fashion, a kind of anonymous fashion, and still demonstrate expertise, right?
Yeah.
Just use some of the mainstream mediums out there, and again, we have over 90% of our clients using video as one of those mainstream mediums to communicate the message, right?
Yeah. But this is a good slide to look at, and, if, contact us, and we can maybe send it to them via email if it's hard to read on the screen right now. But there's ideas in here. There's so many ideas, and we do that. We pull out this exact thing and say, are we forgetting something? Are we forgetting, something on this list that we could add to our 5 for our campaign that we're totally forgetting? But we almost should title this not only mainstream mediums, but the non-mainstream. We were talking about how telemarketing has become kind of a secondary medium, but it's inexpensive and out there to use, that you could still use telemarketing. True. And the problem, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. The problem with telemarketing is that they don't telemarket. People do telesales, and that's received poorly. If I call you and I'm trying to sell you a subscription to a magazine, that's not telemarketing. That's telesales.
That's true.
But if I'm calling you just to make you aware of an event, or to make you aware of a webinar, or to let you know that we have a video playing on a website, then you're not teleselling. I'm not selling you anything. I'm marketing. It's just using the same mechanism that I would if they were watching TV and they saw a commercial. It'd be the same thing.
That's a very good point.
And that's different. It's not telesales. So that's why telemarketing has gotten a bad rap. It's not. You're not marketing if I'm trying to sell you. That's telesales. So look at possibly doing telemarketing.
And that is a very good point. I mean, that's probably one of the strongest points we could talk about on this slide here. Telemarketing, telesales are 2 totally different deals. It's just like when we see...
Totally different.
Yeah, we see a lot of clients or businesses sometimes, they're looking for even a sales and marketing manager or whatever. It's kind of crazy because you're going to lean more towards one than the other, and they're 2 totally different actions.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so same thing with when you hone it down to telesales. So again, that's a very good thing, or telemarketing, I should say. It's a very good thing could be a very good thing for your business if it's done the right way.
Yeah, and it's inexpensive right now.
So again, this little 9 tree trunks here, branching out to all these other little things here, those little spider legs. Let us know if you want to send it to you, and we will definitely do that. Okay. Let's talk about. Okay, number 8 here, graphics. Okay, so graphics, just put a couple little different deals here because we send them over to you guys before, or Jeff has sent them over to you. Graphics
are important.
Yeah. They're important, right?
Yep.
So
graphics are important, and we lump video into this. You know, what videos are the eye-catching graphics? People they look at the pictures.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, that's why magazines sell so well. It's not because the articles are really awesome. It's because people flip through and look at the pictures.
Look at the pictures.
Yeah,
and it's true that if you have a marketing campaign, it has a little video player with like a little player button in the middle. It usually gets clicked more often than not. Huh?
Oh yeah, it gets clicked. People are programmed through YouTube and everything that I just want to click that little play button and see what's happening. See what it is. You know, so. You know, these are a couple good sources to get graphics if you're doing some of your own marketing. On the bottom of the screen here, it's a website, PSD Graphics. Might be singular. It's either PSD Graphic or PSDgraphics.com.
Okay.
That's a great website to get some graphics. And then probably the one we use a lot of our Stock Exchange.
Stock Exchange, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's SXC.
C.hu.
Yeah, SXC.hu is the stock exchange, and that's basically owned by iStock Photo, but it's their free arm of iStock Photo. So it's free graphics for you to use, and these are two great examples. On this slide. The lower example, that's from Stock Exchange.
Yeah, it is.
They produce. We have the mechanism in house to produce these graphics, but why would we when they're available to us?
Available, right?
Yeah,
and it's free.
And it's free. Totally free.
Yeah, I think I got the little movie thing from PSD Graphics, as a matter of fact, little screen thing there.
Yeah,
so
yeah, they provide great graphics.
There you have it. There's two right there into one marketing campaign or one marketing piece.
Yeah.
The PSD Graphics and the Stock Exchange. Now, if they're using Google Images, you have to be careful about copyright.
Yeah,
right?
Google Images, we have to be careful about copyright because sometimes Google's not looking at that. They're just pulling every image.
Yeah.
On the planet that's available.
I think they say something about that too on it, right?
Yeah,
on how to use it or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you got,
but Google Images is a good place to go to get ideas.
Very much so. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Get ideas from Google Images, then you can go to Stock Exchange PSD Graphics, kind of put something together, or some other program. If you're a graphic designer, hey, you may want to do it, but otherwise, I mean, these are very, very good sources on getting information. So just to kind of lump everything together, those 8 components that we spoke about today are, again, we hinge on the marketing principles, and we superimpose the marketing principles over this foundation that we have, especially for online content, which is our D-Rock, and that D-Rock is that powers everything, and it can host everything. So it can host the video, it can host the graphics, of course it can host the message from a text standpoint. I mean, you can have it so they can download documents.
Yep, it has the forms so
web
people
forms,
can fill out.
Exactly, so it has everything. And with it, that a website should have, go back and make sure you look at it, the 8 components of online or direct response marketing. That's a good one because it talks about the 10 components of direct response websites. That's what it was. Take a look at that video again and superimpose that over this. Those two will make sure that you have a marketing campaign that has the right message, has the right copy, has the graphics, has the video, have everything that they need in order to launch a formidable
going
campaign.
in your correct mediums. And if we just sum this all up, a lot of it is take the time and plan it out. And think about it and have a specific campaign and say, I'm pushing, this message. If you asked yourself and said, what is the, if I met a prospective client and I could only say one sentence to them, what's the one message I would want them to know? And say, okay, that's my message. That's the thing that I'm pushing in my campaign. And how can I do that? Because really that's what you get.
Right.
You get someone's attention for a blip. And if you can boil it down to one thing and you're pushing one campaign, and too many realtors actually try to do it all. I can be your buyer's agent and I can sell your house and I'm a short sale expert and I can do all these things. And maybe you can, but I wouldn't wrap them up into one campaign.
Right.
Separate them out and say, okay, I'm going after buyers. That's a whole different mechanism. I'm going after equity sellers. That's a whole different system. And I'm going after short sale. That's a whole different mechanism. And you should have different campaigns around them all. Now, if I'm going after equity sellers, maybe a live event makes sense. because there's no sensitivity issue.
True.
You know, but maybe for short sales, a live event doesn't make sense. You know, because people don't want to come and see their neighbor and admit, hey, you know, I'm having a problem.
That's true.
You know,
very,
something
true.
like that. So, you know, don't lump it all into one campaign and do some planning.
So let me ask you, why do you think that gets kind of omitted sometimes, and you know, the whole planning thing, and why do you think that is?
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. If you know, if most business owners, which is what you are, you're a business owner, knew what to do, they would do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we're getting to you today. You know, follow these steps, have a plan, focus on 5 mediums that you're going to go after.
That strategy.
You know, don't try to do everything all the time. You know.
Yeah.
And test. Make sure you test.
And test. So, I hope this was helpful to you. Any last words for the audience?
No. Do you have a slide with your email?
I actually do. Let's see here. Somewhere around there. There we go. All right. There you have my cell phone number. Please feel free to call me anytime, and my email. Shoot me an email. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll be more than happy to take a call from you and answer all the questions that you may have regarding whatever it is about marketing.
Yep.
Cool?
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much, folks, and we will be back here again in 2 weeks. Thanks. Bye.